Hello everyone, welcome back to Shruti IAS. This is video 7 of direct sources of each questions asked from Polity, specifically from our book Lakshmikanth, which is our main source of preparation for UPSC Prelims. Here you will find marked chapters and page number wise questions that have been asked in the last 20 years for UPSC Prelims, along with the screenshots attached. If you have not watched the 2005 video, I would suggest you to watch that so that you understand what exactly we are doing here. For anybody who's new here, in a short description, what we are doing is we are marking pages in Lakshmikanth like this. Like this is a screenshot of my Lakshmikanth where I've highlighted the questions that have been asked and like the correct options, the incorrect options in the book itself, so that when we are revising Lakshmikanth, we don't at least miss out on the parts which are very important and have already been asked in the last 20 years. One more thing, if you guys have the time, I got a few suggestions that the name Shruti IAS is not really searchable on YouTube because of Shruti IAS ma'am, who was our 2021 topper. So I'm open to any suggestions, any name suggestions that you have to give. Okay. Starting with question number 1 from 2011 paper. The topic is Panchayati Raj. Let's read the question first. The Constitution 73rd Amendment Act 1992, which aims at promoting the Panchayati Raj institutions in the country, provides for which of the following? First, constitution of district planning committees. Second statement, state election commissions to conduct all panchayat elections. Third, establishment of state finance commission. Let us look for the answers. For point number 1, we go to chapter 40, municipalities, page number 402. Under the salient features of 74th Constitution Amendment Act, under the heading district planning committees, we see that the district planning committee, every state shall constitute at a district level a district planning committee, consolidate the plans prepared by panchayats and municipalities. Now here we see that this particular committee is formed under the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, which makes our first statement as incorrect, because here we've been asked 73rd Amendment Act. Coming to statement 2 and 3, we go to chapter 39, Panchayati Raj, page number 390. Now again, you go back 2-3 pages, you'll see the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, and under the significance of 73rd Amendment Act, State Election Commission is one of the pointers. On page number 390, here we can see the superintendent's control direction of the preparation of electoral rolls and conduct of all elections to the panchayat shall be vested in the State Election Commission. So, okay, this is a correct statement because this is provided under the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Similarly, same chapter, same page, we go to the next point, Finance Commission. The governor of a state shall every 5 years constitute a finance commission to review the financial position of the panchayat, which is our statement 3, which makes our answer as C. 2 and 3 only. Statement 1 becomes incorrect. Coming to question number 2, minorities, fundamental rights, Article 29 and 30 is our topic. Let's read the question. In India, if a religious Sikh community is given the status of a national minority, what special advantages is it entitled to? First, it can establish and administer exclusive educational institutions. 2, the President of India automatically nominates a representative of the community of Lok Sabha. 3, it can derive benefits from the Prime Minister's 15-point program. Okay, let's look for our pointers in Lakshmikanth. For the first point, we come to chapter 8, Fundamental Rights, page number 96. Under cultural and educational rights, point number 2, rights of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. Article 30 grants the following rights to the minorities, whether religious or linguistic. A, all the minorities shall have the rights to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice, which makes our statement 1 as correct. For point number 2, the President of India automatically nominates a representative of the community to Lok Sabha. Now, this statement is nowhere found in the fundamental rights chapter. I mean, it's an incorrect statement, so it will not be there in the President chapter as well. But let us look at who the President actually nominates. So for point number 2, we come to chapter 18, President, page number 192. Under legislative powers of the President, point number E and F. President, she nominates 12 members of Rajya Sabha from amongst person having special knowledge or practical experience in literature, science, art, and social service. She nominates, this was before 2020, 2 members to the Lok Sabha from the Anglo-Indian community. Now, with the 104 Constitutional Amendment Act of 2009, this provision has been discontinued. So he only nominates 12 members from special fields. So this is an incorrect statement. 2 becomes wrong. Coming to statement 3, this is not given in Lakshmikanth. The point number 3 talks about the Prime Minister's 15-point program for minorities, which provides equal opportunities to the weaker section of minority communities. For this, we'll have to do a Google search, we'll have to read it online. So our answer becomes 1 and 3 only. Second statement is incorrect. See, for a lot of questions, not every statement will be given in Lakshmikanth. We have to make do with whatever information is available. Most of the statements which are not given in Lakshmikanth usually are that particular year's contemporary current affairs. So, I mean, it will not be something too irrelevant usually. Now, coming to question number 3. Now, this is an example of that type of a question. Now, People with Disabilities Act of 2000. Okay, I think PWD Act. There must be an act before this also. I have written the 2016 Act. Now here, these statements, all these 3 statements are correct, but this is not given in Lakshmikanth. This is under People with Disabilities Act. So here our answer becomes all 3 points. We can go ahead and read about this online. Coming to question number 4. The question is on Consolidated Fund of India. So in 2011 paper, we are going to find a lot of questions on the Union Budget, Consolidated Fund of India. The question is, the authorization for the withdrawal of funds from the Consolidated Fund of India must come from. For this, let's come to chapter 23, page number 256, under funds. First point, Article 266, Consolidated Fund of India, the last line of this paragraph. No money out of this fund can be appropriated, issued or drawn except in accordance with the parliamentary law. Right? And we can also check in the same chapter, page number 251, point number 3. To know more, no money shall be withdrawn for the Consolidated Fund of India under appropriation, except under appropriation made by law, Article 114 of the Constitution. Coming to question number 5, again same chapter, same topic. Coming to the question, all revenues received by Union government by way of taxes and other receipts for the conduct of government business are credited to. Same page, under funds. Here you check the definition of Consolidated Fund of India. It is a fund to which all the receipts are credited and all the payments are debited. In other words, all revenues received by the government of India, all loans raised by the government by the issue of treasury bills, all money received by the government in repayment of loans from the Consolidated Fund of India. So the answer becomes C, Consolidated Fund of India. Coming to question number 6. Now, this is not a polity question. It's an IR question. It's not in Lakshmikanth. Let's just look at the question. With reference to Look East policy of India, consider the following statements. India wants to establish itself as an important regional player in the East Asian waters. This is correct. Statement number 3. India wants to restore the historical and cultural ties with its neighbors in Southeast Asia. This is also correct. Statement 2 is incorrect because also it's too much of like a reach as well. India wants to plug the vacuum created by the termination of the Cold War. This is an incorrect statement. The answer here becomes 1 and 3. We're not going too deep into it because it's an IR question. Now again, coming to question number 7. For this question, I'll have to open my book as well. When the annual union budget is not passed by the Lok Sabha, the budget is modified and presented again. The budget is referred to the Rajya Sabha for suggestions. The Union Finance Minister is asked to resign. The Prime Minister submits the resignation of the Council of Ministers. So the answer here is the Prime Minister submits the resignation of Council of Ministers. Any sorts of notes, any sorts of polity lectures that we have taken, with that we know that the presentation of the union budget is kind of like a floor test, and if like it is not passed, it's assumed that the government does not have the majority in Lok Sabha, and the Prime Minister has to resign, or the member of parliament can, like the Lok Sabha members can initiate a no confidence motion. For this particular question, we again come to same chapter, chapter 23. Now under page number 245. So here's a difference between public bills and private bills is given. If we check here under fourth point, it is the rejection by the House amounts to the expression of want of parliamentary confidence in the government and may lead to its resignation. Now, technically, union budget is also type of a public bill. So here also we can see that this statement is correct. And if not from here, I'll have to just open my book to talk about this. Coming to page number 254. Okay, so if you come to page number 252 first, the stages in enactment of a budget are given. Now, in this page number 252, we check point number 4, voting on demand for grants. So under the process of this, when we come to voting on demands on grants and we turn to page number 254, here if you see under token cut motion, second last paragraph, it is given that token cut motion does not have much utility in practice, because if it did, the passage would lead to the expression of want of parliamentary confidence in the government and may lead to its resignation. So now we know that token cut motion is a part of the passing of the budget, and if we look at page number 257, it's very clearly given in under what all cases the Lok Sabha can express the lack of confidence in the government in the following ways. I know it's gotten a bit confusing, but this statement is not directly given in Lakshmikanth, so we are trying to look at it in terms of where we can get the answer from. So if you see here, the Lok Sabha can also express lack of confidence in the government in the following ways. You look at point number E, by passing a cut motion. So from here also we can get the answer. I just mentioned that on page number 252, the definition of cut motion is given, which is a part of the enactment of the budget. So if a cut motion is passed, that means the Prime Minister has to submit his resignation, which technically also means that, when a union budget is not passed, then the Prime Minister submits its resignation. Easier way to go about it with the public bill definition. Its rejection by the House amounts to the expression of want of parliamentary confidence in the government and may lead to its resignation. This has gotten way too complicated if you go by the definition of the book, but in any sort of other notes that we must have done in any classes, this is a pretty straightforward question. Coming to question number 8 on fundamental duties. For this, we come to chapter 10, fundamental duties, page number 120. Under the Constitution of India, which one of the following is not a fundamental duty? To vote in public elections, to develop a scientific temper, to safeguard public property, to abide by the Constitution and respected ideals. For this, for point number D, we come to the list of fundamental duties. According to Article 51A, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India. Here, first point is to abide by the Constitution, which means this is a fundamental duty. We come to point number H, to develop a scientific temper, which means B is a fundamental duty. I, to safeguard the public property and to abjure violence, which means C is a fundamental duty, which in turn makes to vote in public elections not a fundamental duty, and is a correct answer for this question. Coming to question number 9, the topic is Finance Commission. With reference to Finance Commission of India, which of the following statements is correct? Now for this, we go to chapter number 46, page number 431. Under the functions of Finance Commission, we can see that the Finance Commission is required to make recommendations to the President of India on the following matters: the distribution of the net proceeds of taxes to be shared between the centre and the states, and the allocation between the states of respective shares of each proceeds; the principles that should govern the grants in aid to the states by the centre; the measure needed for to augment the consolidated fund of state, to supplement the resources of panchayats and municipalities in the state on the basis of the recommendations made by the State Finance Commission. Any other matter referred to it by the President in terms of sound finance. Now, if we look at all the functions that are given here, none of them fall into these categories even remotely. It encourages the inflow of foreign capital, not mentioned here, it's not related to this. It facilitates proper distribution of finances among public sector undertakings, again, not given here, not even remotely close. It ensures transparency in financial administration. Technically, this can also be a correct statement, but as it is not a direct function of Finance Commission, we are going to take it as incorrect, and all three statements are incorrect, and answer becomes D. Coming to question number 11, human rights. This is not given directly in Lakshmikant because the National Commission for Human Rights is given, but which of the following are under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is not given in Lakshmikant. So it's a list of 30 rights under UDHR. We can just find the list in on Google, and all of these three, right to education, right to equal access of public service, right to food, all are a part of this. We can remember this for future questions. Some information about UDHR. It's an international document adopted by the UNG Assembly. It enshrines the rights and freedoms of all human beings. It was accepted by General Assembly during the third session on 10th December 1948. Therefore, 10th December is celebrated as International Human Rights Day everywhere. It consists of 30 rights and freedoms, including civil, political rights like the right to life, liberty, free speech, privacy, economic, social, cultural rights, and the right to social security, health, and education. Okay. Coming to question number 11, it's on municipalities. Consider the following statements. In India, Metropolitan Planning Committee is constituted under the provisions of the Constitution of India. Okay. Prepares a draft development plans for metropolitan area. Okay. Has a sole responsibility for implementing government sponsored schemes in the metropolitan area. Now, we come to chapter 40, municipalities, page number 403, under 74th Amendment Act of 1992, under salient features. So we turn a few pages. Coming to page number 403, Metropolitan Planning Committee is a part of this act, this Constitutional Amendment Act. So our statement 1 becomes correct, that it is constituted under the provisions of Constitution of India. Point number 2, the definition of this is this only: every metropolitan area shall have a metropolitan planning committee to prepare a draft development plan. The state legislature may make provisions with respect to, I mean, there's more information, but this is relevant to, so statement number 2 is directly given here, that every metropolitan area shall have a metropolitan planning committee to prepare a draft for the development plan. Now, point number 3 has the sole responsibility for implementing the government sponsored schemes in the metropolitan area. This is an extreme statement. This is incorrect. It might just not be given directly in the book, but from like common sense, we know that Metropolitan Planning Committee cannot have the sole responsibility for implementing government sponsored schemes in the metropolitan area. Other departments are also responsible for the same. So our answer becomes A, 1 and 2 only. See, a lot of questions will not be directly given in Lakshmikant, but our goal here is to at least mark the ones which are given. Right, so here we've marked 1 and 2. 3 is not given, but now we know that 3 is an incorrect statement. To question number 12. Now, this is again on the union budget. Let's see what is the difference between vote on account and interim budget. The provisions of a vote on account is used by a regular government, while the interim budget is a provision used by a caretaker government. Okay. A vote on account only deals with the expenditure in the government's budget, and while an interim budget includes both expenditure and receipts. Now, for this, let us come to chapter 23, Parliament, page number 254 and 255. Now, under this stages in enactment of a budget, where it is given on 252, we turn the page to 254. Here, under passing of appropriation bill. Now, if we start reading from the third paragraph here, the appropriation bill becomes the appropriation act after it is assented by the president. Okay. This act authorizes or legalizes the payments from the consolidated fund of India. This means that the government can withdraw money from the Consolidated Fund of India till the enactment of the appropriation bill. This takes time and usually goes on. The government cannot withdraw money from the Consolidated Fund of India till the enactment of the appropriation bill. This takes time and usually goes on till the end of April. But the government needs money to carry on its normal activities after 31st March, the end of the financial year. To overcome this functional difficulty, the Constitution has authorized the Lok Sabha to make any grant in advance in respect to the estimated expenditure for a part of the financial year, pending the completion of the voting demands of the grants and enactment of the appropriation bill. This provision is known as vote on account. It is passed after the general discussion on budget is over. It is generally granted for 2 months for an amount equivalent to 1/6 of the total estimation, right? In an election year, when the Lok Sabha is to be dissolved or a new Lok Sabha is constituted, the vote on account may take in for a longer period. From 2017 onwards, the budget session is advanced to 31st January of the Union budget is presented on 1st February, almost a month ahead of the usual date in the past. This change is intended to enable the Parliament to avoid a vote on account and pass a single appropriation bill for the year before the close of the financial year. After the advancement of the budget, the cycle from the last day of the February to the first day of the February, the vote on account is presented in the election year when the interim budget is presented. In the year in which the general elections to the Lok Sabha are held, the interim budget is presented to the Parliament. After the general elections are over, the assumption of office by the new government and the regular budget is presented to the Parliament on the date as decided by the new government. Now let us read our points. The provision of vote on account is used by a regular government, while interim budget is a provision used by a caretaker government. We can see here that this is not true. Interim budget is a provision used by any government in an election year. It is clearly given here that interim budget is presented in the election year. So it can be any government. It doesn't have to be like a caretaker government. It can be incumbent government, a regular government, or a caretaker government. So this makes our first statement incorrect. Coming to statement number two, a vote on account only deals with the expenditure in government's budget, which is true. It's clearly given here that the government needs money to carry on its normal activities, and an estimated expenditure for a part of the financial year is taken by the name of vote on account. It's like an advance taken by the government. So this only deals with the expenditure, while interim budget includes both expenditure and receipts. Yeah, interim budget is includes both expenditure and both the receipts till the time a new regular budget is presented in the Parliament. So here a statement 2 becomes correct and statement 1 becomes incorrect, right? So I think we are done with 2011 questions. There were around 10 relevant questions in this. Now, for this one, question number 7. If the explanation got too confusing, let us just remember that any sort of a major bill which is presented, like a public bill which is presented, should technically get passed in the Lok Sabha. Why? Because its rejection by the House can amount to the expression of want of parliamentary confidence in the government and may lead to its resignation. So, even if the answer is not directly given, we should be clear that public bills demand this sort of an outcome in the Lok Sabha. I think we're more or less done. Uh, I hope there are no doubts, and also if I made any mistake, please do let me know. Thank you so much for watching till the end.